All right. There we go. Welcome to the Hip Hop Hustle podcast. I'm extremely excited about my next guest, the fantastic Richie Evans. Well, I've been speaking with Richie and his management for a little while, so I've been extremely excited about
Yes,
setting
sir.
this one up. But man, I'm extremely excited because you're doing some amazing things. You've had a fantastic career thus far,
Yeah,
and it is continuing. Some you've been working with some awesome artists, including Kendrick,
yeah,
Game, Rick
yeah,
Ross.
yeah,
Um, you've got a track that came out with J Rock as well, and
yeah.
Eastside K Boy. So, man, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Amazing things are happening for you.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, it's been a good year. You know what I mean? I think next year is gonna be even better. We like I said, man, coming out of COVID, man, we just felt like we had to really like get right to it. You know what I mean? I felt like, coming out of the whole lockdown and situation like that, it gave me enough time to kind of just organize my plans and strategize and connect and link with some of my favorite artists that I hear today. Like I said, man, we put together some great music and a plan, and here we are. You know what I mean? Music is out and torn, and everything is lovely.
Well, I always wonder because, like, when you start your career,
Right.
you don't really see the things that you've achieved as possible. They're like dreams. They're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have this like fantasy in the way of going, I'd love to work with these, artists that are big and you don't even still the
Right.
artists that you worked with, you don't even know are huge
Right.
because when you start,
Yeah.
years and years ago, and now all of a sudden, like you're at this place where you're working with the great artists, but like
Yeah.
does it as do you look back and kind of like get in touch with that like boyhood self where you're
All the
like, man, I
time.
made this happen?
All the time, man. Like, it's crazy. Like early on in my career, um, it's it's crazy to see my peers at a such level of success. You know what I mean? Like, people look at kind of like, me and Kendrick or me and J Rock. Like these are artists that when, early on in my career and on my journey, we were peers, we were friends, you know what I'm saying? And now to look back and be like, damn, Kendrick is probably the biggest name in hip hop besides Drake. You know what I mean? I mean, that was a person that, you know, you know, he used to come to my city and we go eat tacos and drink tequila. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in Compton with him and J Rock at the studio and we was piecing up, $10 to get two 20-piece nuggets and some high C. You know what I mean? So it's definitely amazing to kind of see, what I mean, where we all have came from. Some are bigger than others, but like I said, we all are kind of thriving on our journey right now, and it's kind of dope to see.
Does it feel strange to hear people talk about someone or like two people intimately the way they do?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's it's uh it's not strange, you know what I'm saying? One, it's a motivation. And for two, you know what I mean? It's a dope feeling to know. Like I said, man, I was one of the people that were there at the beginning when, they had their vision and dream, and to able to see their, dream thrive and come alive, you know what I mean? Just speaks volumes. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of dope just to know that you're around, like-minded people who are, on the mission to success.
And obviously, you've got that track with J Rock. So it's not
Yeah, man.
like you're not like these relationships just disappeared. Like you still
Nah.
got them.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, man. Like I said, it was always a vision of mine, you know what I mean? Like I said, to work with my peers. But like I said, even still, you know what I mean? My goal is to, reach to the levels that, they are. Don't get it wrong now, I'm not doing too bad myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm out here buzzing and the lights is looking good, but definitely it's motivation to try to get as big as a Kendrick or even a J Rock. You know what I mean? But it's also respectable enough, you know what I mean, that when I needed something from them, they was able to come through and show love, you know what I'm saying, and still keep that friendship intact as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I look at your career and what you've done, I'm not like, I'm not looking at you going, he's a slouch. I'm going like, that's as I said at the start, you've done some amazing things. I'm
Yes,
interested
sir.
to know when you were all together. when you were younger, when you were, just coming up trying to find those dollars? What was the energy like together? Was it?
It was, I mean, we all go through these phases, you know what I'm saying, where we mature. You know what I mean? For me, it was, I want to say, right after college, man, I think I kind of just came to a realization like, hey, man, you got to go all in or not. You know what I mean? And I felt like I had to make the decision and best step forward to really try to attempt to make this career happen or don't. At the time, I was working on a mixtape, and like I said, the story is, Game was in my city, and I ended up giving him a demo, and he called my phone the next day, and he told me to get on the plane, and I thought he was bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And I remember I sat there like for a half a day and was just kind of like, do I do it or do I not? You know what I'm saying? And and then at that particular time, I had to be honest with myself where, those opportunities don't come too often. You know what I'm saying? Or if any to some people. So at that particular time, man, I took the offer, you know what I mean? I flew out there to California, man, and then ever since then I never looked back. I mean, of course I had to find a certain level of focus and a certain level of hunger and grind. But overall, man, I think that I chose the right steps, and shit, it got me to where I'm at now. Like I said, I'm doing records with Kendrick, Game, Jay Rock. Had my first top 40 record. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 8 months ago, featuring Vito, the record called For You. So I think that I'm slowly knocking down some of these goals consistently, brother. So hey, the grind doesn't stop at all.
Well, I feel like, hip hop has changed significantly in terms of the time that it
For sure.
takes for an artist to be successful. I mean, we look back at like, the 90s, and it's littered with people who are
Right.
extremely young in early 20s where they just like, do really well. Nas was extremely young, Mob
Yeah.
Deep young,
Yeah.
Biggie extremely young. Like you look at
Jay.
these legends, Jay, and now it feels like it's shifted a little bit where
Yeah.
because there is a lot of talent out there that it takes a little bit longer for you to really earn your
Yeah.
credits as
Yeah. For
opposed and
sure.
not that they didn't earn their credits before, but it feels
Right.
like it's harder to stand out
Yeah.
compared to what it
Um,
was.
I think now is just, and again, I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack from this right now. I just think that like music is so accessible right now that everybody feels that they can do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think back then, you know, there had to be a little bit of grind work, you know what I'm saying, to get any type of notoriety or any type of recognition. I mean, i.e., right now we got the internet, you know what I'm saying? So, music is at the click of a fingertip. You know what I mean? Back then, it really wasn't like that, man. You had to go city to city, state to state, you know what I mean? Cassette tape, mixtape to mixtape, you know what I mean, to really circulate and get your name respected and out there on a national level. And that normally took about what, maybe like 6 months to a year. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, now, shit, on a national level, it's at the click of a button, man. You can be a household commodity in less than 30 days. You know what I mean? So it's definitely different from back then. I think that the work ethic is different. I think the mindset is different. But even also, as I was telling you, I think that just the accessibility of music is kind of the reason why it's so different.
I think you can come and go faster.
For
You know what I
sure.
mean?
For
Because
sure.
there's so much, you can blow up. But the problem is, and this is what I see a lot of, is like you need depth of catalog
For sure. For sure.
because
And speaking of that, I think for me, I believe, from the era that I came up in, and like I said, the peers that I'm around is, these are people who make quality music. This is not a microwavable thing. Kendrick doesn't make microwavable music. He makes music to stick to your ribs. Same with J Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, he makes quality music. So I think that there's many different levels of music out here, but to me, quality over quantity wins every time. But you definitely need a great body of work to, be known and sustained as a great artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of artists struggle with that, and they don't have the formula of their own brand.
Yeah,
I think what they're looking for is what's hot, and what Kendrick has done so successfully, and J Rock and all the big artists. Probably less so Drake, although he has his own kind of style. But like Kendrick's music doesn't fit within eras. Like, you
right,
know what I mean? Like, it doesn't,
right,
when I look at his music, I'm not like, oh, this is identifiably trap or
right,
identifiably this sound or identifiably
right,
that. It's like, oh, this is just another Kendrick album with a completely different sound.
right.
And I just have my preference as to which one's my favorite. I think the best artists have done that is like, I'm just me and I'm just going to do me, whatever that
Yeah,
is,
and it's
regardless of
funny
what
that,
everyone else is doing.
and it's crazy that you say that, because I was having a discussion the other day where I kind of said the same thing. I said, I kind of found my stride, and I seen my career start blossoming, and my music start growing from the aspect of coming out of COVID, where I just felt like I was unapologetically authentic to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I wasn't trying to fit in nobody's genre. I wasn't trying to, create specific sounds or songs for specific reasons. I was just trying to create a great body of work, what I'm saying, that I believed in, and showcase and speak a skill set of a city from where I'm from. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of my success, right now, I think it's starting to resonate with people a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? For that same specific reason as you just spoke about. So I definitely think that that's 1,000% accurate.
I think that's always a better route as an artist.
Yeah, I mean, but it takes time um, for an artist to understand that. I think that even for myself, early on in my career, I think that I was, you get signed or get into a situation to where you're so hungry to blow up, what I'm saying, and to be a mainstream artist or to go gold or to go platinum, that you at times do look to follow a mold of success, because you know what I mean. It's your first opportunity. You don't want to fail. You know what I mean. So of course that you're going to look out to people that are already winning and maybe take one or two of things that they're doing to kind of put into your own. But I also feel on the back end of that, when you get older, you realize that um, everybody's journey to success is different. What worked for Kendrick didn't work for J Rock. What worked for J Rock didn't work for Kendrick. What worked for Kendrick and J Rock didn't work for me. You know what I'm saying? So I think that 1,000% right, man. If you just keep it 100% authentic to who you are, man, and just speak from your truth and your depth, I don't think that you can't go wrong. You know?
It's interesting though that there was a shift away from that because you grew up with hip hop and
Yeah.
we listed a bunch of people, we can list
Right.
hundreds more of successful artists. And the one thing that classic albums have always had to them was
Mm-hmm.
authenticity.
Intensity. Yeah.
So it's interesting that we as an industry moved away from that. That like
Yeah.
and it's taken a while for people to recapture it.
But again, I think the reason behind that is because, like I said, hip hop has grown so big where it's became more than just the art. It's became a business. You know what I mean? And like I said, when you're making billions of dollars and millions of dollars, you know what I'm saying? Of course, uh, reciprocate that every time. So if you got to, I always call it the Nelly effect. You know what I'm saying? When Nelly came out, or the Ja Rule effect, like they found their niche, whatever that was, and they just ran with it. I think Ja Rule at one point, he kind of stopped making, you know, music about his upbringing and where he came from and his authentic self. Everything was more catered just specifically towards radio, that I think maybe took away a little bit of the honesty, you know what I'm saying, in his music. Same with Nelly. You know what I mean? Like I said, but I think it's slowly shifting back right now to artists like Nas and the King Disease, and like I said, the Kendrick albums and the Joey Badass. You know what I'm saying? He just dropped a great project as well. You know what I mean? I think that authentic music is still a mainstream viable commodity in sales, but also I just think that it's sticking in connecting with people on a personable level, especially coming out of COVID. You know what I'm saying? Shit's a little bit different now, you know?
Yeah, I think it's also tough with labels because
Yeah,
labels know they've got a particular brand that they're pushing as well. I think
yeah,
as an independent artist, it's obviously easier to stay authentic
for
because
sure.
hey, you get to decide your own journey. But
Yeah,
like, definitely understand like a label going, hey, I know this type of track makes me money. So you
yep,
make this type of track in the same way that I know that films have become the same. They're not looking to make the best movies. They're looking
right,
to make movies that are successful at the box office and are
right,
easy to digest for a large audience. So
right.
like I kind of feel like the entertainment industry has moved hand in hand with that.
Yeah, agree. I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, you know, like I said, I mean, a lot of things plays into that variable. I mean, you know, look at the time that we're in right now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, some say we're kind of in a recession. You know, some of these companies are not really taking risks on, you know, not spending money and rolling the dice on the person who wants to be creative. They want to roll the dice on the person that has a proven track record of winning. So of course there's going to be a repetition if it's in movies or if it's in music. You know what I'm saying? The you know in the original creator right now is having a hard time unless you are an independent. You know what I mean? So that's 1,000% accurate for sure.
I want to jump back to the game for a
Yeah,
moment. You said you weren't sure if you would jump on the plane.
right.
Why is that? What was the conversation like? What was your feeling at the time?
I mean, you know, I think for me it just happened so spur of the moment and it happened so fast. I just think that I was still kind of in shock about the shit. You know, because it's shit that you just kind of see on movies. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, oh, dude, you know, he picks up your mixtape and then he calls you, and then you know, that shit you see on the movies, bro. You know what I mean? So to be in that type of situation at the time, I had to really digest it and get an understanding of like, no, bro, you really got the game telling you right now to jump on this fucking airplane to come to LA. Now you don't know what's gonna come out of it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing too. You know what I mean? When you're, I don't want to say a starving artist, but when you're a young artist and you know you're you know going through life, you know what I'm saying, trying to build your career, you know what I mean, you know, I was a young dude who wasn't in the most financial space at the time, you know what I'm saying, like I was still trying to figure life out. So I'm like, bro, I'm about to jump on this plane, like what if I get out there, like I don't know if, you know, if you know, do I got to pay for this hotel, do I got to pay for, you know what I'm saying, there's many things that you just kind of go through your mind, but it's also at the end of the day, it's the belief factor. Like fuck it, man. I'm gonna roll the dice and I'm gonna do it regardless, and I'm gonna find a way because I believe in me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I did. And you know, ultimately, man, you know, having that type of mindset and taking that leap of faith, you know what I'm saying, was the right thing to do because it blessed me to where I am today. You know, speaking with you.
How well, what can I say? To be honest, if this is the peak of your career, I think we haven't done the right things. Um, but who knows? Maybe in 5 years it will be. We'll come back and we'll be both at the top of our games. But how long did you both speak together for when he called you?
So when I gave him, so instantly, maybe 3 seconds, he was like, "Hey, my phone rang. I looked at it. I usually don't pick up numbers that's not in my phone, but I seen it was a 310 number. Picked it up. He was like, "Hey, it's the kid game." He was like, "Jump on this plane and come to LA." Now again, I talked to him twice because I hung up because I thought it was like a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, stop playing on my phone. And then when he called back and he was a little bit more like, "Hey, you know what I'm saying? I ain't fucking with you. Either you're gonna hop on this plane or you not, but you got the opportunity to." So once I really got to like hear his voice, his game has a distinct voice. You know what I'm saying? I kind of knew it was real at that point. You know what I mean? So man, it was maybe, like I said, 3 to 5 seconds each call. That was it. But like I said, when I got to LA, man, you know, picked me up from the airport and you know, we went straight to the studio. You know what I mean? And you know, at that particular time, he was working on his second album. It was the Doctor's Advocate. You know what I mean? He played me a couple records that he already had in line. He got my opinion, and we just organically just blended well together. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm in there, you know, just vibing, helping them out, giving them my viewpoint and opinion, and then shit just took off, man. It was just a real organic situation, and like I said, I'm glad that I did jump on that plane.
3 to 5 seconds each call is not a long time.
Yeah,
I thought it would be like, at least a minute, where he's like, hey man, I listened, good. Like,
nah,
at least a conversation to know.
nah, I didn't get that. I didn't get that until I got there. Like I said, and that was even like a couple of hours after I got there, after we didn't like worked on a few records and everything. He sat with me and he was just like, man, I heard your mixtape and I think it's dope. He told me that he felt that I remind him of himself, but a little bit younger and a little bit fresher. He said that he really respected the fact that he feels that I had a distinct voice as well. You know what I mean? So, like I said, we ended up working that whole weekend. And then I ended up flying back right before I was going to fly back to Phoenix, man. He gave me a contract and a chain. Told me to go home, see my attorney, see my family, and come back next week, and we're going to get back to work.
And how old were you at the time?
At that time, I was 22, 23. Yeah.
It really is. It really is like a movie now that you describe it.
Like for real, you know what I'm saying? Like I was fresh, bro. Fresh.
Do you remember like getting the contract and be like, is this real? Like, what I like?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, what was the biggest and best feeling ever at that time back then, a chain around your neck was a code of respect. No Limit had the No Limit chains. Rockefeller had the fucking, the Rockefeller pieces. You know what I'm saying? You seen Tupac and Suge and Death Row with Death Row chains on, and you know what I mean? And you seen G Unit with the G Unit pieces. You know what I'm saying? So I remember flying back home, man, and me having a Black Wall Street chain on my neck, and I'm just looking at it the whole time, like damn, I somewhat done made it. You know what I'm saying? Like that was kind of a big feeling, you know what I mean, to have something like that back then. You know what I mean? I think that was a goal that every artist strive to, to get. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure, you wanted a like I said, a No Limit chain or a Rockefeller chain. Like, that was what an artist strived to get. So, to be one of the few people to be gifted like that, speaks volumes.
Because obviously he gave it to you. It must have been like, it must be like, in football clubs and in sports clubs, getting a jersey, like welcome to the team.
Yeah.
It must have been very similar.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. Like I said, we was in the studio working and we took a little break to communicate, and he called his assistant named Damo, and he was like, Damo, go in the safe and blah, blah, blah. Boom, about like 45 minutes later, Damo comes into the studio, gives the bag to Game. Game pulls out these chains and he puts one on my neck. It's crazy.
And during that period of time, was Game still affiliated with G Unit? Or I think that had ended at that point.
Yeah. At that point, this was after he already dropped the documentary. Like I said, he was working on the second album at the time, The Doctor's Advocate. You know what I mean? So him and 50 was already beefing and having their turmoil. There was already G Unit beef at that particular time. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And how is he in the studio? He seems like, because he is a fantastic artist in his own right. How is he when he works? He seems like an extremely focused individual.
Super focused. Game is a machine. You know what I'm saying? In the studio, he's very focused. You know what I'm saying? Like he's such a creative. You know what I mean? He's such a creative. He he lives in there. I mean, I think we stayed in there for like 2 months. We was doing 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every night. You know what I mean? Walk out, the sun is up and shit. And, I wasn't even built for that type of conditioning yet. You know what I mean? I'm in the studio doing, 5 to 6 hours a day. This guy's in there doing, 12 to 16 hours a day. You know what I'm saying? And just focused and locked in. But he's definitely a talent and definitely a true artist in his own right.
So I've never understood that, how artists are like, I'm going to go to the studio at 7 p.m. I'm more likely to be there at 7 a.m. I'm like, let me
Yeah,
get my shit going in the morning. I'm fresh. I'm ready to go. Like at that time, I'm like, I'm exhausted. Like it's the last thing
yeah,
I want to do is create.
yeah. I'm like that now. You know what I'm saying? I'm like that now, where I'm Mister. I like I truthfully I go at 4 a.m. You know what I'm saying? I wake up early. I'll go about between 4 or 5 a.m. and I'm there till about noon. You know what I'm saying? I done knocked out a couple records. I'm fresh. You know what I mean? I'll come home, shower up. You know what I mean? I'm able to kind of regroup and get my mind in order and call it a day and go back at it again. So I'm definitely the same.
Yeah, it's just I think everyone has to find their rhythm of like what suits you. But I know for sure I'm my best in the morning, and then it hits 3 p.m. and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, guys, I'm getting ready to wind down. I don't want to do any more work. Like that's
Yep.
when my mind starts switching off. I get distracted. I like the procrastination starts. But yeah, morning. I think it's underrated early
For
mornings.
sure. Now I love that shit, man. You know what I mean? It gives me like a piece of time and it gives me an understanding to really just decompress. You know what I'm saying? Before my phone starts going off, before the emails start clicking, it's just a calm environment for me to just align my day and kind of execute. And kind of just like you said, that's when my like energy is at its highest level. You know,
When people come to the studio with you, is it tough for them to get up?
to get out.
To get up, like to get up at that time to meet you, like
Um, well, at first it was. At first, you know what I'm saying? Like one of my biggest goals in this industry was to create a system. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to kind of create my own system in my, create a culture that works for me, that's productive. So even with me having to get an understanding of that, you know what I mean, my team had to do the same thing. You know what I mean? So my engineer, like I said, he had to kind of get on the same track. You know what I mean? My assistant, some of my business associates, like we've all traveled together and do so much where we all kind of just after a while got on that same system and now it just works. Early on it was tough because, like I said, we would do the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. You know what I mean? 6 a.m. We're getting out of the studio, going home, going to sleep. We eventually switched it. But now, like I said, man, we go in at 4 and shit, we up rocking out.
I just think that's a better balance. Like, but when did you become independent?
So I was signed the game for 6 years. Shortly after, like, what album was it? When right before he dropped the what was the name of it? The Black Wall, the Year of the Wolf album. At that particular time, man, I think that I just kind of got to a growth and a mature level to where, I rather just roll the dice on me. At that particular time, my album was done. A couple other artists, Compton Menace and some other people that were signed to Black Wall Street. All of our albums were done, and it was done for maybe about a year and a half, but they never came out. And it wasn't anything that we were doing. It was just the business element of Game and 50. You know what I'm saying? With Game being signed to 50, 50 controlled kind of everything that was going on in his contract. It come to find out that he could control our albums too. So um, Game kept it honest with us, and he goes, "Hey, I know some of you other guys have some opportunities to go do. If that's what you guys want to do, I'll let you out your contract. You can do it, or you guys can hold tight with me for another year or two, and when this shit is done with 50, I mean, we can take another another run at it." But I think at that particular time, man, I think that I've learned as much as I could from him, and I think the business ran its course. Now, as far as him being my mentor and being my big brother and things like that, that's forever going to be there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll be forever in debt to Game for giving me the opportunity and giving me the platform. You know what I'm saying, to grow, to learn how to create. You know what I'm saying, solid music. But at that time, and it was time for me to go and really start my own company and really start my own lane. You know what I mean? And it was a bittersweet thing because I didn't want nobody to look at it as like there was a problem or did me and him have issues and beef? Because there was none of that. I just felt that the artist that I wanted to become and the goals that I had to stand on my own and start right then and there.
And so when you found out that 50 still had control over
Right.
the release of your music, because I'm sure it's probably something you don't realize for a while.
Facts.
That, like,
Yeah. I didn't at all for a long time.
how did you feel after that? Because like the image of, like, you're working on a project,
Yeah.
you're putting in your effort, you're speaking with Game, you're like getting his mentorship. It's done. It takes time. You've worked at your craft. And now to find out that you can't put it out because it's been blocked by someone who, again, is enormous in hip hop,
Right.
who is extremely talented, but has a relationship with Game that is not exactly friendly, and
Right.
is now impacting your career. How did you feel at that point?
Man, it was, that's when I realized that, this was a business. And that's when I realized that, there's the music and then there's the music business. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it made me realize that, um, I needed to do some research and do some homework on, how all this shit works. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to be in this industry getting taken advantage of, and nobody wants to give anything that they haven't deserved as much as they don't want to receive anything that they didn't earn. You know what I mean? So it definitely was a eye opener for me, you know what I'm saying, on all levels. But I also say that was a defining moment for me because I don't think, I was learning real world situations in the music industry firsthand, watching Game go through what he had to go through. So when I end up stepping away, at least I had an idea and understanding and knew what to look for and things of what not to do and what things to do. You know what I mean? Outside of being a big brother, he was a blueprint for me to model myself after as well. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely was uh, a real situation.
It's crazy to me that, because you got signed, you were on his label for like
Yeah.
6-7 years.
Yeah.
Crazy that this would have been in the background for 6 or 7 years, if not longer.
Well, what's crazy about that is, I've always had questions, but I think that as a young artist, when you're signed to somebody as big as a person like that, you know, when you're not so versed in this music business, you know what I'm saying, and you're not as big, you know what I'm saying, as the person that you're signed to. I think sometimes you purposely let things go because you want to trust in the process. You know what I'm saying? And you want to trust in your big brother, or trust in your team, or whoever you're with. You know what I mean? You want to ride it out. And that's what it was for me. Like, I used to always question a lot of shit. Like, damn, man, like, come on, man, how come my single's not dropping? Or how come this ain't happening? Like, what's really going on? But you don't want to add no turmoil within the crew. We're on tour together still. We're still doing magazines and podcasts and interviews, and the buzz is still where it needs to be. So of course, you personally don't want to affect anything in that realm. But like I said, it eventually comes a time to where you got to look at your own career and look at your own business and be like, hey man, I got to make sure this is benefiting me and mine. Or if not, you know what I mean, we got to make some different arrangements. And that's what happened.
And I'm sure Game at the time didn't expect it to go on for that long.
For sure. No. And I tell people all the time, even with us being in that situation, he's done a lot more, you know what I'm saying, for myself than I could have ever imagined. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, he gave me the platform, to be known on a national level. You know what I mean? Took me on numerous tours and, gave me the opportunity to be in the Double XL and Source magazines and, build these relationships with other key artists like, your Jay Rocks, your Kendricks, you know what I'm saying? Your boys, your, whoever, you know what I mean? So I definitely always commend him for that. And I do think that, he thought that it would be a little bit easier than what it was as well.
It does show that, the best artists, or the artists that really have long-term success, show the keys to others. Like they
Right.
support others and
For sure.
they help others get on as opposed to just looking after themselves.
For sure. No, for sure. Like I said, to the public eye, people look at it like, damn, where was the albums? But like I said, he did a lot for everybody's career. Like I said, he gave us a platform, and I think that he did everything that he could in his power to, put us in position, even when we were to walk away, to blossom. You know what I'm saying, and thrive. So, salute to the boy Game. You know what I mean, for being a real one for that.
Could you ever get the album at any point? Like,
So I have it actually. It's on my hard drive. You know what I mean. I always I listen to it. I don't think it could. Well, I can probably go back and get it in order to where it needs to be to put it out, but I wouldn't, because I just think at that particular time, a lot of the business, a lot of the producers and things like that was kind of connected to that G Unit brand and umbrella, and that's just a can I just don't want to open. Like I said, I think right now, my brand TEA, the music that I'm dropping right now, and the way things are going, I think I'm in the right lane.
well, speaking of music,
Yeah.
I noticed on Spotify it's not a huge catalog.
Right.
Is there a reason that, because it's mostly singles on there? And
Yeah, yeah.
so, most people are getting their streams and that's how they're consuming music. But is
Yeah, yeah.
there a reason why there hasn't been like, because you've obviously done mixtapes and you've done
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of work since then. So
Yeah.
is there a reason why it hasn't been filtered down there?
Yeah, a few different reasons. And like I said, I go back to say this again, just watching and studying Game. Well, first, like I said, some of the old mixtapes and things like that, everything was under the Juice moniker. You know what I mean? And when I end up walking away, what I'm saying, from the Black Wall situation, I wanted to walk away with a clean slate. And what I mean by that was, at that time, there was just so much going on. Like I said, there was the beef for G Unit, there was a legal issue going on. What I'm saying, me and Game's manager, Jimmy Hinchman at the time, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he was on a federal indictment case, you know what I'm saying, going to prison, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a situation for me where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna step away from this with a clean slate. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna start fresh, I'm gonna start over, and I'm gonna rebuild the catalog. In the process of rebuilding that catalog, I did put a couple records out, but during that meantime, I was trying to negotiate a partnership, you know what I'm saying, with, a Warner or a Universal, or, you know what I'm saying? And so I didn't want to put everything out fully until I got my resources and everything on point. So like I said, right after COVID, man, I was able to land my partnership with Universal In Grooves for my imprint TEA. And like I said, man, starting shit November 4th for this whole year, I'm gonna drop consistent amount of work just to make sure that catalog gets to where it needs to be.
Yeah, because of the songs that are on there, and obviously got a few music videos out as well.
Yeah,
It's solid work. Like, it is
appreciate you.
good music. And so, like we said, like, we want to have a body of work.
Yeah,
And so,
yes, sir.
yeah, I'm always excited and always keen to see good artists drop work that, number one, they believe in, but also
Yeah,
will give, the consumer something to continuously listen to.
no shit.
And go, all right, I can find more about Richie. I can like learn more. Cause at the moment, because I mean, you're, as we said, as I've been finding out this whole time, like, your career, your life is
Yeah,
so interesting. And so the music you're going to put out
yeah.
is going to be tied to that.
Yes, sir, man. Like I said, man, I'm definitely ready to do it. Like I said, man, we got the new single out right now featuring my guy Jay Rock from TDE, and my guy Eastside K Boy, called Pressure. Like I said, man, that record has been just thriving. You know what I'm saying? It's been thriving. Leading into, you know what I'm saying, my EP dropping January 9th, called Highly Favored. So I mean, I definitely got a lot for people to look out for and check out, man, for sure.
Because Rick Ross is also on the EP. I couldn't
Yeah, man.
help but notice.
Shout out to my guy Rose. Yeah, man. That's actually, you know what I'm saying, my official single called "Can't Knock the Hustle" that's dropping, like I said, actually on January 9th. The day that I drop my singles, the day that my EP comes out, called Highly Favored. So shout out to Rose, man. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those people who, same situation. He drops quality music. You know what I mean? He has a great body of work. You know what I mean? He's Ross. You know what I'm saying? He's the icon within his own right. So to have a record with him and even also just having a personable and business relationship with him, man, just speaks volumes.
How do you get contacted with someone like Rick Ross? Because again, he's just so big in hip hop. Like everybody knows who he is, and he's a busy guy. Like he does a lot of shit.
I mean, humbly speaking, I'll say a couple different ways. You know what I'm saying? One, that just kind of shows you the environment and kind of the places that I be at. You know what I'm saying? Like, to have a relationship with a Ross in a game and things like that, that also shows a testament of some of the environments and some of the respects that I got. You know what I mean? But even also, man, Ross is a grinder. You know what I mean? Ross is one of those dudes who's really about wealth and entrepreneurship, and his grind is for real. You know what I mean? I see Ross everywhere. I be in New York, you know what I'm saying, on the marketing promo campaign. I see him coming in the radio station. Shit. I'm in Vegas, you know what I'm saying, promoting my single. I see him having a concert that night. Like, winners win, bro. You know what I'm saying? And likable minds always link. You know what I'm saying? So, as long as you on your grind and motivating and doing all the right shit, anything is possible, man. Like I said, likable minds link when it's time.
Well, must be a good thing for us then, because we're linked for sure. But I'm interested to know, because like this is something that I've noticed, and especially talking to artists for over the past 2 years, is like I can see a shift between successful artist as being the goal and successful business person being a goal.
Right.
I think that's really changed.
And what's crazy is I think that's the, how can I say it? That's the hard fine line to find. I think that it's hard to find a great successful business artist, but also a superstar. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always one or the other. You got a superstar artist who's just doesn't own his catalog, shit's all fucked up, blah, blah, blah. Like, there's, time is changing to where now is like I said, man, artists are starting to wisen up and really starting to understand their worth and get their business in order, but also it's hard. You know what I'm saying? It's somewhat of a give or take in this industry. And, hopefully, artists can find that equal medium, man, so you can get both. Cause I'm definitely trying to get both. You know what I mean? If that wasn't the case, man, I probably would have just directly signed to somebody else instead of signing myself to my own company and then making a deal with Universal, through them. You know what I mean? So
isn't it funny though? Isn't it funny though? As like I remember being a young kid in my at 19, 20, going like, man, I could run a company. Man, I could. You look at it from the outside and you're like, man, that shit easy. And then you're in it and you're like, holy fuck, this is so complicated. And like, you have to learn every day, and you realize that no one really knows.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to adapt, and every situation is different. Like to me, like being in business and like having multiple streams of income it sounds good.
Yeah.
But like you said, like Ross is a hustler. He's everywhere and he's doing everything. That's kind of the life you got to be doing, is like, it's on you now. There's no one else.
Yeah. Yeah, no, facts. You know what I'm saying? Right now, man, I think to anybody, especially in this music industry, man, it's on you. It's not on your manager. It's not on your team. It's on you. It's them 4 a.m. hours. It's them, you know what I'm saying? It's them hours that people, really don't really understand until you're fully in it. You know what I mean? But like I said, if you can get in it and handle your business, man, it's a very lucrative profession to be in if you can make it work and make sense.
When did you decide to do that? Was that after, you were released from Game, or did you have that idea already in the background?
I've always had that idea in the background, just because I come from a city, Phoenix, Arizona, that's kind of not well known on the musical map. You know what I mean? So I wanted to be one of the few people, man, to really break in the industry, set up a label and a solid foundation, and then come back and try to groom and pick out the next wave of talent. But like I said, you know, studying and watching what Game was going through with 50 and some of his business dealings really made me take it more serious than I think I would if I didn't see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I got to looking at it like, oh shit, like a person can take advantage of you in this industry if you let them. Oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you do got to study up on this to make sure that these contracts and these percentages are in your favor, or, you know, you can go platinum and nobody on your team can eat. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely had a vision and a plan and a goal, but the Game situation really made me put it in gear a little bit faster.
Yeah. You said something interesting that Arizona is not known, or Phoenix isn't known
Right.
for its music. Why do you think that is?
Um, a, a few different reasons. Like I said, I mean, right now we're really starting to get a lot of national attention. You know what I'm saying? I think early on, I think that we didn't have the infrastructure. You know what I mean? We, you know, again, like, yeah, you know, we got radio out here, but like everything is kind of catered off from LA. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's kind of like even, you know, if anybody in the music industry wanted to be successful, they had to go to LA. If anybody wanted to be successful in the music industry, they had to go to New York. If anybody wanted to be successful, they had to go to Atlanta. You know, it was always like we had to go to a hub. You know what I'm saying? But what would happen would be is, you know, nobody wanted to go out, slay the wolf, and then come back. You know what I'm saying? Because it comes down to the grind at that time. But like I said, Phoenix, we just didn't have the infrastructure, and I think that a lot of musicians early on didn't have a blueprint or outline to study from. You know what I'm saying? But I think that after a while, man, you know, people started taking it a little bit more serious. People started going to these different places and these conventions and asking questions and, you know, finding the right resources, you know what I'm saying, to help align them to what needed to be done. And like as of now, I think that Phoenix has a great hip hop scene. We're thriving, you know what I'm saying? I think we're starting to really get a lot of national recognition, not even just from music, but from sports teams, you know what I mean? We got the Phoenix Suns where we almost won the, you know what I'm saying, the NBA championship, you know, 2 years ago, you know what I mean? You know, fucking Kyler Murray and the Phoenix, you know, the Arizona Cardinals, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, we're starting to get some recognition. And the Super Bowl is here this year. You know what I'm saying? So we're really starting to get those particular looks. Like I said, it's just up to us now, man, to make all the rest of these dots connect, man, on this musical scene to give it some life.
I think you raise a really interesting point, which is when a city does well, i.e., has a lot of other stuff going on,
Right.
like you will see it grow across the board. You
Right.
will see not only sport, but music, but money, business, like it all feeds itself. And so like it's kind of underrated sometimes, the importance of having successful attractions, whether it be
Right.
sport or shit to do, or like, and just really as a city to be able to be like, all right, let's make sure that we capitalize on this and like use it to build up the other parts.
Yeah. Yeah. You're 1,000% right.
And especially with NBA, like
Yeah.
NBA and hip hop, like these days when you
Hand in
look at,
hand.
it's the same thing. They dress like, you know, hip hop artists dress like NBA stars. Like it's just the cultures have really become one in a way.
Right. No, it's real shit. It's real shit.
So tell me about 2023. Obviously 2022 is almost done.
Right.
2023, we're ramping up for a big year. You know, January, your
Yeah. My
your
EP
project
dropped.
is dropping.
Yeah.
What's after that? Because that is like,
Um,
you know, it's very much the start. It's like, all right, we're
yeah.
starting on fire.
Yeah, man. We starting right there, January 9th. Like I said, highly favored will be available on all platforms. Going on a short tour after that. I get off, I get to go to Miami to start on my debut album. You know what I'm saying? I'm locking in with Cool and Dre. I'm gonna reach out to the Justice League, a couple other, you know what I mean, heavy producers to help me create, like I said, a great body of work for that. I know that, like I said, my solo album will come out that summer. And then after that, I'm gonna do a crew tape, a TEA tape. I'm gonna find 2 or 3 artists from my city that I feel that kind of been putting in some work. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, man, I'm gonna start reaching back and, you know, giving some opportunities and building the brand to where it needs to be moving forward.
You got a big plan.
Fucking right. Fucking right. But can you pause it or no?
Yeah, we can pause.
Okay, no. I was saying because the radio, I gotta do this radio thing for Vitamin Water, and they keep hitting me, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like, yeah, I know, I didn't know how long we had left, so I didn't know.
We got about 15 minutes or so.
Can we do 15? Will that work? 15? Okay. My bad, brother.
Hey, it is what it is. I get it. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, so tell me about this ad. Now that you brought it up, you got an ad with Vitamin Water. What's the?
Yeah.
How'd they reach out?
So Vitamin Water was looking for. I think that they was doing a smart thing. They was going through different cities looking for the next musical talent in LA, Phoenix, you know, spots like that. You know what I mean? Of course, you know what I'm saying? I'm one of a couple artists really out here buzzing. So they was like, hey, you know, we want to, you know, come do an ad and do some commercials, and then we're going to have a concert, and we want you to headline the concert with, you know, the other people from the city. You know what I mean? And I thought that was just a big deal for somebody like Vitamin Water. You know what I mean? That I can get their attention and just, you know, to ride them around the city and show them, you know what I'm saying, kind of what we're about and what we're doing, I think is big. I also think that, again, the momentum of the Super Bowl, you know what I'm saying, and other little minor things kind of, I'm sure, played a big part in that. You know what I mean? But Vitamin Water, man, you know, they're big on, you know, helping, you know, upcoming artists and artists who are on the next wave thrive. You know what I'm saying? I'm just fortunate to be one of those ones that they give an opportunity to.
Yeah, well, I can see why. You know, it's always interesting when I speak to artists because, you know, sometimes I think it starts easy in an interview when it's like 10 minutes because it's like you can kind of get your way through it, you can navigate it. But like when we go an hour 15, like when we push that time, it's really hard to stay in a character. The true you really comes out. And so I think I've definitely spoken to artists where it's like, oh, I'm starting to see at the beginning you had this show, but because I'm not planning my questions, it's really hard to pretend because you don't know what's coming next. And the thing that I've noticed about you is that, like, whether from the start to the middle or the end, you've been the same person and authentic the whole way through. So I think brands like that and brands in general always gravitate to that, where it's like, I know who I'm going to get every single time, and I'm not going to get surprises.
And I do want to throw this out there too. Like I said, the Vitamin Water situation, man, like I said, that's just a one-off. You know, they doing the commercial, doing the concert, but I do want to speak about, you know what I'm saying, right now I'm in talks of being the face of a cognac called Vion. I don't know if you heard of it. You know, it's under the Bel Air brand. You know, shout out to, you know, Rose, shout out to Brett Barish. You know, they got the Bel Air brand popping. You know what I mean? They got the champagnes, they got the McQueen vodka or the gin, and then they got the Bumbu. You know what I'm saying? I know Rose and Lil Wayne represent that, but I'm a cognac drinker. And they just enrolled, like I said, their new alcohol called Vion. So you know, you're the first person to hear it, but you know what I'm saying, next week we're gonna make a launch of, you know what I'm saying, me being an ambassador and the face of Vion, and we're gonna make some shit happen. You know what I mean?
Hey man, we get the exclusives on this show. What can I say? You just must feel, you feel good. You feel good, man. But like, yeah, because I'm not a huge cognac drinker. Like, I'm not huge into my like whiskeys and stuff like that. So
what's your drink of choice?
Well, it's funny you ask because I really fluctuate and it
Okay.
depends where I go. But I do love a cocktail, like whatever it
Okay.
is, like for whatever reason. But then in Australia, hot summer's day, the cricket's in the
Right.
background, a nice cold beer on tap.
I
There's
get it.
something there's something about that.
Let me tell you, I've been to Australia a few times, right? There are two things that every time that I come to Australia, I have to have. There's two things. Two things. One, Nando's. Facts. That's first. First. Second, pie face. Those are my two things. Every time
You
I
could
come,
you could give me 100 guesses. I would never have guessed those two things.
my dude. I like well, one is because they don't have them here in the States. You know what I'm saying? So only time I ever get Nando's is when I go to Australia or when I go to England. You know what I'm saying? To the UK. But that's about it. But every time that I touch down, that's the first thing that I do. Before you take me to the hotel, before we do anything, take me to Nando's.
What do you just go for like the straight up the roast chicken, or do you
Yep,
go for like yeah?
I get the chicken and I get the peri peri sauce and I'm on.
Do you go like how hot do you go? So if
I
anyone
do
hasn't had
medium.
Nando's, it like they got the levels of heat, but
Yeah.
mediums it's pretty hot. And you can, do you know the thing is? Here's what you got to do. I'm gonna give you the next time you come down. In supermarkets, they
Okay.
sell the Nando's sauce.
Oh, no, I know. So I do have that at the house. I do have that, but they don't have the chicken like how you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I mean, I try to muster some shit up and make it work as best as I can. But Nando's is definitely, what I'm saying, one of my top five places that I like to eat whenever I travel out the country for sure.
Well, what we got to get you to work on is become the official ambassador for Nando's.
Fucking right. We need to make that happen.
Yeah.
We definitely got to make that happen.
But I think Nando's is South African actually, or like Portuguese.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I heard this year there's one Nando's in America, and it's in Washington D.C. There's one, and it's only been up for I think like maybe a year. You know what I'm saying? But I know before that, nope. We all, like I said, we always had to go overseas to get it.
The pie face is the interesting one because I think Nando's is awesome. The chicken they do is unreal, and the
Right?
chips that they do, the peri peri
Yes.
salt is oh
Fire.
fire.
Now, do you have you ate pie face?
Nah, but I see it around all the time. That's why I'm like, I see it and I'm like,
So the funny shit about it is, I ate that on accident. It was I was in my hotel and I was just chilling before the show and I was just starving, but I wanted a steak. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, "You don't have time. You don't have time." So I was like, "Pie face. Like, what the fuck is a pie face? Like, what is this?" And it was like, it's like a pot pie, and you can fill it how you want to fill it. So I went down there and they had steak. So I had them fill it with steak, gravy, mushrooms, and potatoes. Put that shit together. Gave me that shit. I killed it from then on out. So shout out to
well,
Pie Face.
well, it sounds like you just gotta like if you like pies, we got so many good pies. We got award-winning pies. So we got to like get you to like a legit like bakery where they're like
Uh,
fully like homemade, like the award-winning ones. I feel like those
yeah,
because they do steak, mushroom, and like they do
yeah,
all the gourmet flavors.
yeah. That like, nah, that definitely hit home that day. And I think
Well,
you guys got fire ass salt and vinegar chips too,
yeah, we do.
for sure.
Yeah. And chicken salt. Chicken salt we have down here, which
What's
I don't
that?
think you guys have. When you go to like a fish and chip shop, you can get chips with chicken salt. It's like chicken flavoring in the salt. It's the
Got
best.
it.
Honestly, another game changer. I think it was invented in Adelaide, but like it tastes like crack. It's like so good. It's so addictive.
He said it's addictive. No,
Yeah.
I get it. I get it for sure.
Well, man, I only have one more question for you, and
For
it's
sure.
probably going to be the hardest question that I've asked you.
Okay.
Um, But if you had to recommend one album that everybody
Mm.
should listen to at least once to get an appreciation of, cannot be your own work, it can be any genre of music, what would it be?
The Chronic.
Dr. Dre.
Now I'm stuck between the Chronic and Illmatic, man, because like I'm a Nas fan for sure. But I think that, you know, like I said, me being from the West and kind of where I come from, I think that just the Chronic kind of just visual, you know, musically put together well, but I think it visualizes just kind of where I come from and kind of what we're about. You know what I mean? And it just kind of just takes you on this journey. So I would definitely have to say the Chronic.
Well, I think a lot of people will agree with you that that is a must listen album. There's a lot. That's why I love this question, because, like, let's be honest, it's not a wrong answer.
Right.
There's no such thing, but man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and chop it up. And I'm extremely excited to see what happens with your career. Yeah. I'm going to let you plug your single that's out now, your album that's coming as well. We talked about it throughout the interview, but after that, is there anything else you wanted to plug as well?
You know what? Like I said, man, just make sure y'all get my new single out right now, featuring my boy Jay Rock from TDE and my man Eastside K Boy, called Pressure. Make sure y'all get that. It's on all DSPs. Like I said, man, make sure you stay in tune with me, man. I got my my EP, you know, called Highly Favored, dropping January 9th. Yeah, follow me on Instagram at Who Is Richie, Facebook at Who Is Richie. Talk to me, I talk back, man. I'm out here.
And you got music videos on YouTube as well. So if anyone who wants to see, they're really well done, really crisp, clean production. So definitely make sure you check them out. And man, absolute pleasure for me as well. As I said, we've been talking about this for a while with your representation and yourself, but yeah, I'm glad we got to make it happen. I'm excited to see what you do. As we said before, he's becoming the brand ambassador for a cognac.
Yes,
so
sir.
If there's anyone to trust, it's Richie Evans. And I might have to get myself a taste of that. Who knows? I might be converted.
Come on. I'm with you. I help you convert. Don't even worry about it. You know what I mean? Definitely.